on your own. And as one smart driver said, it's like driving on a different planet. As one smart driver said, it's like driving on a different planet. Having a little problem with, first day with new mouth. It's not working the way I would like it to. So that's what we're talking about, giving you tips and strategies to be a safer, smarter driver at night. Because unless you are learning how to drive in the winter time when it gets dark earlier, you are going to be left up to your own devices. Over the years of learning how to drive and whatnot, over the years of being a driving instructor and teaching other people how to drive, there have been very few occasions that I've been in the vehicle in the dark with another student. More so when I was teaching truck driving, but teaching car driving, very few times have I been in the vehicle at night in the dark with another student. And something I learned a few years ago when we had a mountain trip in the big truck was we would go out for the day for 8 hours all day in the big truck. At the beginning, I was kind of trying to simulate it as long haul trucking, and it didn't work out because the students weren't ready for that yet. So we used to, by the time I got done and I realized what I needed to do and those types of things, we used to just go up to Kamloops, go to the scale house, and then we would come back. However, sometimes the trip would start in the middle of the night, and I quickly realized with students that they did not know how to figure out where the road was going at night, and most students were not very good with night driving. In fact, it really, really challenged them. So that's what we're going to talk about. A few people are here. Marion is here from chilly Vancouver, Twin City, Minnesota. Carrie lives there. And Elevator Fan, hello from Monticello, Indiana. I just want to say thank you for this live stream. Driving at night is frightening. Yes, and as I said, Marion, with one of the other live, everybody else, the audio is working, seems to be working. Backing the trailer. Okay, we can give you some tips for that as well. Corey, did you get your audio working? It seems to be working for other people here. Okay, David, hello, my friend. Elevator Fan, there is holiday traffic now because of Thanksgiving. Yes, Thursday is Thanksgiving. Wow. Yes, Thanksgiving is Thursday. Friday is Black Friday, obviously. So it's going to be busy. Manica, hello, my friend. David, hello. And Retired, hello, my friend. Hopefully I got everybody there. So, yes, talking about night driving. And as Marion said, driving at night is frightening. And the reason for driving at night is frightening, as I've said, you lose half of your ability to see at night. Corey, did you get your audio figured out? Yes, it was on my end. Okay, excellent. Corey is the moderator at Bricks for Wheels. He does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at for the questions you ask for more details, and does an excellent job of keeping out the bad people, because once you start live streaming on a big channel, people like to vandalize your channel with graffiti and those types of things. Yes, Emily, hello, my friend. Yes, we have a bit of facial hair going on for the winter time. It's a bit of, it was time for a change. And I've had an intervention on the beard that it was not popular. So moving forward with night driving. Hate night driving. Emily hates night driving. Most people do. Most people avoid it. Seniors, for example, will avoid night driving. As I said, we're going to give you tips and strategies for driving at night. And here is one of the pieces of information that is one of the most crucial pieces of information. The farther you get away from cities, the more you're going to rely on the headlights on your vehicle. And if you have an older vehicle, you might want to consider swapping out the headlights for better LED headlights, or Nighthawks, I think they're called, is one of the brands that you can retrofit into your vehicle to have better illumination. And some years ago, I was driving truck. I borrowed one of the other driver's trucks, and I was on Vancouver Island going up and down the Pat Bay Highway. And the driver said to me the next day, he says, "Oh, how do you like those new headlights I had?" And I thought to myself, I didn't really notice any improvement in the headlights because for those of you who've been on the Pat Bay Highway from the ferries into Victoria and out to Collingwood, the western suburbs as they call it, there's only one part of the highway that's actually not illuminated with street lamps. So, I didn't really find the headlights that helpful. Probably I was overwhelmed by the how loud the truck was, because it had straight pipes on it and it was a day cab, and the stacks were like right here on the outside of the cab. So it was very noisy. So driving at night, a lot of street lamps and those types of things in high risk areas along highways, intersections, and other places where there have been crashes. So you'll note, so if you're driving on highways at night, you'll take note of that there are overhead lamps and those types of things to help drivers navigate those intersections. Or there have been crashes there and they have put in street lighting to try and facilitate and reduce the number of, facilitate drivers moving through those intersections and reducing the crashes there at that point. Elevator, make sure that you increase your following distance when driving at night. Absolutely. Emily, you're driving at night in the snow too. Double whammy. Yes, especially if you turn on your high beams in the snow at night. You get that kind of Star Wars, warp drive effect going on. So definitely low beams on. Make sure that your defrost is working. And on that note of what Emily just said about winter driving, make sure, and Corey will put up the video for you on winter driving car care. One of the things that I would suggest to you, and I learned this the hard way a couple of years ago, change the cabin filter inside your vehicle. If you don't know how to change the cabin filter, take it to a technician and get him or her to change it, or just look in your owner's manual, because the newer vehicles, they're really easy to change. It's just a compartment that flips down, usually somewhere around the glove box, and you just flip that down, pull the old filter out, and put the new filter in. If that filter hasn't been changed for a long time, or you've been running up and down gravel roads, places with a lot of sticks and dirt and leaves and those types of things, because you have to remember that the heater and the defrost inside your vehicle pulls air from outside through the cabin filter, and cabin filter is inexpensive. It's easy to fix on your own. My mom's Pontiac Montana that we bought her and I drove home in the summertime, we changed the cabin filter, and it was just inside the glove box and just flipped down on a tab. You pulled the filter out, you put the new filter in. On my Honda CR-V, it's a little more complicated. It's a few bolts that you've got to take things apart and put the new cabin filter in. But the story was a couple of years ago, Tracy and I drove to Alberta in the middle of winter when it was minus 30 degrees Celsius, minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit. It was very chilly and couldn't get any defrost out of the vehicle. And then I came home and for whatever reason remembered that I needed to change the cabin filter, and took the cabin filter out, and it was plugged, completely plugged with leaves and dirt and other stuff that the filter stops from coming inside the vehicle. That's what was preventing me from having defrost in the vehicle, because the cabin filter was plugged. So if you're not getting defrost, your cabin filter is plugged. Now I'm getting a little off topic here in terms of night driving, but I wanted to give you that piece of advice and that tip about changing the cabin filter inside your vehicle to keep your defrost and your heat inside your vehicle working at optimum capacity, so that you can defrost glass in the wintertime and at night. Because if you have ice and snow on your windshield, the light from other vehicles and the ambient light from overhead street lights and whatnot are going to reflect off the ice and snow on your windshield at night. Corey's put the video up for that. Excellent. Carrie, sadly, people have been stealing the copper from streetlights, making certain dark intersections more dangerous. Absolutely, Carrie, that's a thing that goes on. Is that people steal the copper, but they've been moving back to aluminum wiring and fittings inside these panels and whatnot, because people don't steal aluminum wiring and whatnot, because it's not really worth anything. So, but yes, definitely what you're saying. Matikit, I can't avoid night driving. I got work from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, so there you go. So this would work out really well for you. The vehicle, our new filter's pricey. Emily, no, cabin filters are not pricey. Probably less than $50. If you order it online, probably less than $30. So no, they're not expensive at all. And it is something that I would recommend that you change once a year, because you're breathing that in, right? All that stuff from outside, and the filter gets rid of all that good stuff. So there you go. David, highway, our car broke down. David, did you have roadside assistance? This is the other thing about night driving. If you're not good at changing tires, you're not good at breakdowns and those types of things, I do strongly recommend that you get a membership with the CAA, the Canadian Automobile Association, or the AAA in the United States. And there are all kinds of independent organizations that do roadside assistance and whatnot, and it's inexpensive. It's like $100, $120 a year, and you get a tow. You just call the roadside assistance. They'll come out, give you a tow, change your tire, put fuel in your car if you ran it out of fuel or whatnot. So it is a good investment if you're not good at any of that. Retired, I'm 62 and never had a problem with night driving. Excellent. But there are retired, there are some people out there who do not like night driving, and I noticed that as well. That people have difficulty locating where the road is going at night. And I know for me, with all my experience driving the wintertime with Highway 97 between Vernon and Kelowna, that is a very dark stretch of road at night, and it takes all my skills to be able to drive up and down and navigate that road safely. Status, when making left turns in the rainy night, how can you tell whether or not there are pedestrians or cyclists? Status, movement and light. Those are the two things that our eyes are going to be attracted to. So you got to keep your eyes, you got to be really alert and focused on noticing movement in the environment. And that is one of the things that is going to alert you to the presence of pedestrians at night. Not easy though, because many pedestrians do not wear reflective clothing. They do not wear light colored clothing. Oftentimes they're wearing jeans and black jackets and whatnot at night. So it is difficult, as you said, to be able to see them when you're driving at night. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get over to the presentation here. We'll get through that, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the remainder of the hour talking about winter driving, night driving, helping you out, giving you tips and strategies. So we're talking about night driving. Driving in a different world, as Emily just said. It's like driving on a different planet, and there are skills and abilities you need to put in place to keep yourself safe. This is not something you're going to learn in a driving school. It's not a specific lesson that you're going to take where they're going to take you out on the roadway and they're going to teach you night driving skills. In fact, most driving instructors could not give you tips and strategies to be able to drive safely at night. So that's what we're doing here, is helping you out with that. All right, for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. Drove bus for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines in Australia while I was going to university there, and became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Graduated with my doctorate in legal history in 2006 from the University of Melbourne. Legal history, as you may or may not know, is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. Essentially, what police are trying to do, what the law is trying to do in terms of upholding social order, that everybody moves through an intersection safely, and we reduce and minimize the number of traffic crashes that happen at those intersections. And that's what we're talking about in terms of night driving with overhead street lamps and, flashing yellow lights, flashing red lights at intersections that are high risk, that have had a high number of traffic crashes. 2015, I started the online YouTube channel. It has been wildly more successful than I could have possibly imagined, and, helped out thousands and thousands of drivers to earn their license, and as well to become safer, smarter drivers and mitigate the risk of being involved in a traffic crash. Have a look at this video, 5 tips for driving in heavy congested traffic. Great video, lots of tips about driving in heavy congested traffic. Maintain space in front. For those of you who've been here for a time, 3 to 4 second following distance, minimum stopping in traffic, 1 vehicle length back from the vehicle in front of you, being able to see the tires of the vehicle in front, making clear contact with the pavement. If you can implement those 2 habits, not skills, habits, so that you do it regardless of what's going on in your head, whether you're distracted, what's going on in the environment, whatever the weather is, you do that and stop back. That is going to create minimum safe distance between you and other road users on the roadway. And in doing so, you're going to reduce your chances of being involved in a crash, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. All right, it is intimidating for many to drive at night because they're in the dark, they're trying to figure out where things are, they're not completely comfortable with the secondary controls on the vehicle. You need to turn on the high beams, low beams, you need to figure out the defrost if you're driving in the wintertime and there's ice and snow on the windshield. You need to, if it's snowing out or it's raining out, you're going to need to be able to turn on the windshield wipers, intermittent, low, high. You're going to have to know how to do all of that. So familiarize yourself with the vehicle. And again, the other thing that's intimidating at night is I'm going to tell you to use cruise control because that's going to reduce distractions so that you can be looking down the road farther. And as the question was asked before about how to locate pedestrians, cyclists, and other vulnerable road users on the roadway, using cruise control out on the highway is going to allow you to focus your attention out through the front windshield, not on what's going on inside the cabin of your vehicle in terms of being able to turn on the windshield wipers, lower your high beams and low beams, and turn on the defrost and windshield wipers and all those types of things. If you can do that, you're going to be a safer, smarter driver, and it's going to be less intimidating when you're driving. Look for movement in the darkness off to the sides of the roads. And, you know, I've made mistakes myself driving at night coming back from jiu-jitsu. There's a crosswalk on the way back, and there have been 2 or 3 nights that there's no lighting at that crosswalk. There are pedestrians standing at that crosswalk waiting to cross. Traffic in the opposing lane has been stopped and they're flashing your lights. And I'm like, why are they flashing their lights at me? Because the crosswalk is not well marked. And then you're like, oh my God, there's pedestrians standing there. So many times, you know, pedestrians and other grassroots organizations like to blame drivers for, oh, drivers are so arrogant and drivers have car brain and they don't see pedestrians and they don't care about pedestrians. That's not true at all. As the video that I showed you last week here on the channel, sometimes we just don't see them, okay? Or they're just walking out through the crosswalk with their head down and they're not looking or observing with the traffic that's on the roadway, and they're hoping on a prayer and a dream that the driver is going to stop for them. That doesn't always happen, right? Now, I'm not saying that there isn't arrogance, but there is arrogance, okay? Where does the road curve? And the farther you get away from cities, the more you're going to rely on the headlights of your vehicle. If you have an older vehicle like my 1998 Honda CR-V, I do suggest that you upgrade your headlights. If you have a newer vehicle like the Santa Fe that I rented last week to go down to Victoria, you know, halogen headlights, and they are really awesome at night, okay? Fatigue. If you are doing a lot of night driving or you're working nights or those types of things, you're going to have to pay attention to how tired you are. There are many drivers who are working night shifts and they're driving early in the morning or they're driving late at night to get to work, and they are tired and they fall asleep at the wheel and they drive off the roadways. This happens more than you would like to think. So know yourself. Take a internal note of how tired you are, whether you should be behind the wheel or whether you should be getting somebody else to drive, or, you know, whether you need to pull over and you need to take a little nap somewhere on the side of the road, or those types of things. Okay? Eating will keep you awake. When I was driving truck, I was driving a lot of nights when I was driving truck, and I used to eat carrots. I had a 10-pound bag of carrots down beside the seat, and I would gnaw on carrots while I was driving at night. The other thing that will help you stay awake at night is if you're talking to somebody, and now I'm not advocating that you talk to somebody on your phone, but a passenger in the vehicle, you can talk to them and that will help you stay awake as well. Okay? Sunset and sunrise, not so much of a problem right now because the sun is really low in the sky. This tends to be much more of a problem in the summertime with sunset and sunrise and the sun right on the horizon. Your eyes are adjusted to the light sky, and road users, pedestrians, cyclists, motorcycle riders, kids on e-scooters, those types of things are hiding in the dark landscape. So this can be a difficult time of day to drive. As well, if you have that glaring sun, you know, pounding in through the windshield, putting the visor down, wearing good quality sunglasses, looking for landmarks along the roadway, that can be a challenging situation as well to drive in. You know, as I said, tends to happen more so in the summertime and more so in the late afternoon, especially if you're driving west into the setting sun. Dash lights, and you'll see this in the nighttime driving video that Corey will put up for us. I think he's already put it up there. Turn your dash lights down to as low as you can tolerate them, okay? Because our eyes are attracted to light and movement, and the dashboard, if it's all lit up, your eyes are attracted down to that light. Now, one of the other features that our eyes are attracted to is movement. Now, interesting, when on the Santa Fe, the new Santa Fe, it had this kind of moving feature on the dashboard underneath the speed, where the speed was written, because it had a digital speedometer, and underneath the digital speedometer there was this moving kind of roadway underneath it, and I found that incredibly distracting. As well, on the infotainment center there was kind of this navigation thing that was moving as well. Those features on the vehicle, even though they're a selling feature of the vehicle and we market it, it's like, oh, look at how wonderful the instrument panel and whatnot is. That's distracting, because you've got something down here that's moving out of in your kind of peripheral vision, and if you can turn that off, that's going to help you to keep your focus out through the front windshield when you're driving. The same thing with the stereo and the infotainment center and those types of things. I had the stereo retrofitted in the Honda some years ago, and the lights on it are blue, and I cannot dim the lights on the blue on the stereo, and I find that incredibly distracting as well when I'm driving at night. All right, farther away in urban areas, the more you get out onto highways, the less lights there's going to be. It's going to be darker and more reliance on headlights. Use your high beams as much as possible. Now, I know that a lot of the newer vehicles are going to have automatic low beam, high beam dimmers type switches on your vehicle. That's all going to be automatic. However, use the manual, because excuse me, I find that once you start getting tired and you're driving late at night, you're going to forget to turn down the high beams down to the low beams again. Now, if you're driving a newer vehicle, a lot of other drivers on the roadway are going to flash their high beams at you to tell you to turn yours down. But if you start forgetting to turn your lights down to the low beam and dimming them for approaching traffic, that's an indicator that you're starting to get tired, and you may want to consider getting off the roadway, getting a bit of sleep somewhere, you know, in a rest area, public parking lot, somewhere that's going to be safe. You can lock your doors and whatnot. I have had smart drivers comment that, you know, police will harass you and those types of things. My understanding is I've never had anybody come back to me and say, oh, I was harassed by the police late at night. Now, there are racial issues in terms of this. Yes, that is a consideration. But again, if you're in a well-lit rest area, there are some that are policed and have security and whatnot in certain areas. I have heard of that in the States. But again, it comes back to where you're parking and those types of things, making sure your doors are locked and whatnot. And the other piece, keep a blanket in your vehicle, have a hoodie on. You're not exactly getting quality sleep when you're sleeping in your cars and you're laid back. If you have your hoodie up and the blanket pulled up on you, it's going to be pretty hard for somebody to see that you're actually in the vehicle. Now, if you're in a pub parking lot and you decide that you're going to go out and sleep in the car because you're too drunk to drive home, that's a completely different issue than being too tired. Now, I will say to you that if you do make that mistake, that you go to a pub, you have one too many, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to go out and sleep in the car instead of driving home drunk, don't sleep in the driver's seat. Sleep in the back seat or sleep in the passenger seat, because if you are behind the steering wheel when you are drunk, you can be charged with drunk driving because you were technically at the controls of the vehicle. So sleep in the passenger seat or sleep in the back of the vehicle if you do that and you're in a pub parking lot, because that's when you're going to get harassed by police, not when you're just tired or sleepy. All right, so high beam headlights, fatigue, getting one too many wiggly pops at the pub type of thing. All right, houses along the roadway. So when you get out into dark areas along roadways, country roadways, highways, and those types of things, you have to figure out where the roadway is going. So you're going to be looking for landmarks. You're going to be looking for utility poles along the roadway, signs along the roadway, intersections, because the cross traffic will be going through the intersection to indicate that there is an intersection ahead. Looking for concrete barriers, reflectors, anything at night that will indicate to you where the roadway is going is what you're looking for. First and foremost, other traffic on the roadway, because other traffic is going to drive on the roadway for the most part. So that is going to be your first indicator. Follow other traffic on the roadway. All right, outline of the geography, other traffic, intersections, traffic signs, map, and track where the roadway is going. If it's a bright lit night, as it is here in the image, look up through the tops of the trees if you're moving through a wooded area, and you can see where the roadway is cut through the woods, and that too will help out with figuring out where the roadway is. All right, cruise control, as I said in the introduction, use your cruise control at night, turn it on, and then you can turn your dash lights almost to the off position. This is what I did when I drove truck in the 1990s. When I was driving at night, I would use cruise control, and then I would simply turn the lights off inside the truck, and that way I had most of my focus out through the front windshield, and I wasn't fatigued by the movement of the dashboard and what was going on, right? Could simply look out through the front, okay? The other piece about it is not only is it going to reduce distractions, reduce fatigue, but you're also going to reduce your chances of potentially being pulled over by police because you're speeding, because you know you're not speeding because your speed isn't going to drift up because you've got your foot on the accelerator. It's being held at a constant speed when you're driving. Now, I know that Marion has his discussions with other people who say, oh, my vehicle uses more fuel when I'm on cruise control. Okay, I know that that is an argument and a potential consideration, and I know that some people think that they have done the study to show that their cruise control uses more fuel than using the pedal. As you can probably tell from my tone, I'm dubious about that being the real case. And if you really want to do that much work to drive for 5 hours on the accelerator and then drive for another 5 hours on your cruise control to see which one's going to get better fuel mileage, all the power to you. Me personally, I'm a lazy driver. I'm a lazy truck driver. I am not going to do that much work. I'm just going to put the thing on cruise control, and I don't get a speeding ticket. I don't have to be distracted. I'm not fatigued. I just drive on cruise control at night. So this is what I recommend you do. Now, if you want to figure out the A/B testing on whether it gets better fuel mileage on the fuel pedal or not, all the power to you. Just, document it, send it back to me. I'll write a blog article and I'll put it on the website there. Okay? Good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Now I'm going to turn OBS off, and it's probably going to crash, but just bear with me. I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. I told you it was going to crash. As soon as I transition, it crashes, and it's been doing that for weeks. They still haven't figured out that it needs a patch. And I checked for updates today. There's no updates yet. So, it's still crashing. So we'll just leave it alone, and we're all good. We're back. All right, Corey's put up the video on driving with cruise control. That'll definitely help you out with driving at night. Eric, my friend, how are you? Drink caffeinated drinks at night too? Yeah, you can do that, but then you're going to have to go to the bathroom a lot. Samsung Outbacks do not have switch to turn down dash lights. Are you sure about that, Eric? Have you looked in the owner's manual? Because if there isn't a dial-y switch down on the left of the steering wheel, sometimes it's right on the instrument panel itself near the speedometer. It's kind of like where the old reset the tripometer used to be, that you could turn the dash lights down. I haven't met a vehicle yet that I couldn't turn the dash lights down and adjust the dash lights, because that's a driver feature, because some people like them like super bright, like Christmas time. Oh my God, my car's alive and the lights are on kind of thing. And then there's other drivers who, like me, who like them almost to the off position. So I find it strange that you can't turn down the dash lights on the Subaru Outback. Maybe somebody can Google that, because I'm sure it's on Google too. It'll tell you how to do that. Eric, how do you safely signal to other drivers to turn on lights, taillights too? Eric, you can't. I don't know what the universal road symbol is for, hey, Mr. Dumas, turn on your headlights. And for those of you in my family, when we say Mr. Dumas or Mrs. Dumas, it means dumbass. Okay, so I don't know how you tell Mr. or Mrs. Dumas to turn on the headlights. I haven't figured out what the universal symbol is yet about that. You know, you try flashing your lights and those types of things. If you try flashing your lights, you're simply telling them that there's a speed trap somewhere, and they get confused. Famous, always make sure you shoulder check. Yes, absolutely. Marion, yes, we crashed. We definitely crashed. OBS crashed yet again. Don't drive too fast when deer is hiking. Never sleep on the driver's seat. Yes, never sleep on the driver's seat. Exactly. Deer season, driving at night. This is another really advanced tip for driving late at night. And I wouldn't recommend doing this near large metropolitan cities. But here where I live in British Columbia, you get on the Trans-Canada Highway at night. So there's two advanced techniques that you can do to avoid animals on the roadway, or to at least reduce your risks of hitting an animal on the roadway. The first one is to follow another vehicle at about a kilometer, half a mile behind another vehicle. So you can just see the taillights, you know, as it's going up over the hills and those types of things driving at night. So you've got kind of the bear buster kind of vehicle in front of you. The second advanced tip that I do late at night, like after midnight, is if it's a 2-lane road and there's minimal traffic, I will sit on the center line. So the center line's coming down the center of the hood. So I have half a lane on each side of me, and I'm driving down the roadway. I'm on cruise control, and I have half a lane. I have more space between me and a potential animal coming from the shoulder of the road or coming from the median in the middle of the road. And this is something that I do. Now, if you do that, you have to be alert and paying attention to the traffic behind you, because the traffic coming up behind you, you need to get back over into the right-hand lane so they can pass you. So you need to be very aware of traffic coming up behind you if you're going to use that technique. But the first one for sure, with another vehicle half a mile ahead of you, a kilometer ahead of you, that way, you know, if there's an animal up there, the car's already gone by and scared them off the roadways and those types of things. So that's one of the things you can do. We've talked about in previous live streams on night driving, when Tim was here, retired RCMP officer, with the deer whistles and whatnot, they don't work. Okay, nothing works. And in my experience, I know that some people say, oh, you can see the headlights, the light from the headlights on your car reflecting off their eyeballs and those types of things. In my experience of hitting animals and being in Australia, driving truck, none of that has ever worked. Okay, and that's been my experience. I mean, maybe your experience is different, but none of that has ever worked for me. The deer whistles don't work and whatnot. So just take note of that. And those two safety tips that I just gave you are the ones that I use to prevent hitting animals at night. But I have hit animals twice at night. I hit deer in Michigan when I was driving truck, and I hit kangaroos with the bus when I was in Australia. And both times it happens in an instant, an absolute instant. There isn't anything you can do about it. Screen and dash, Corey's actually found that, how to change screen and dash brightness in your Subaru. There you go. They don't, if they do or don't have this. There you go. Okay, Corey's put that up. Thank you for that, Corey. Carrie, should one increase their following distance more when driving at night than driving during the day? Carrie, yes, absolutely. If you're out on highways and those types of things, I would definitely recommend that you get out to 4 seconds. Try not to run up on other vehicles and those types of things again, because we lose half our ability to see at night. Therefore, we need more space between us and other vehicles. And if you're out on the highway, you don't need to be following close to other vehicles and whatnot. And the other piece about that is you want to have that person in front of you blocking animals, right? Okay. I used to drive in the middle when no traffic too. Excellent. Rode big elks or deer. David, and bringing up large animals, moose, trucks going through northern Ontario at night, you know, hitting a moose. Truck drivers and bus drivers telling stories of hitting cattle, hitting camels, large red kangaroos when driving in Australia. It was just an incredible experience and incredible stories. And talking about looking for these at night, especially in Australia, going from Adelaide to Perth, which is east across the southern part of the continent, and you go across the Nullarbor Plain, which is this huge stretch of roadway, and the three buses used to go together at night, and the one bus in the front, you'd see kind of this lump on the highway because the animals would come out at night because the highway was still warm and it would be cold in the desert, and they would sit on the roadway, and the bus driver would be going across the Nullarbor Plain on the highway, and there would be this kind of lump on the roadway, and then all of a sudden it would stand up because it saw the bus coming or heard the bus coming and the vibrations of the bus on the roadway. And it would be a camel standing on the roadway at night. And so, it's like a moose. And the other issue with those animals, if you're driving a passenger vehicle with a moose or a camel or a horse, is that you hit them, you take the legs out from underneath them, and then the body of the animal comes through the windshield, and that's usually fatal for passengers and occupants in the front of the vehicle. So that's not something you want to happen at night. Michael, sorry, I just logged in. Sir, did you see kangaroos? Yes, I saw kangaroos when I was in Australia, and I also hit kangaroos when I was in Australia. Okay, Eric, I suppose I could fill up my dash light juice. Yes, you could. 172, rural 2-lane roads at night scare the heck out of me. I find myself having to drive under the speed limit, and sometimes it's 55, which is fine during the day, but at night it's scary. Yes, and again, 172, if you can figure out landmarks to help you navigate where the road goes and curves and up and down hills and those types of things. And again, following traffic is going to be your number one landmark because other traffic is going to drive on the roadway. So following other traffic when you're on those 2-lane roads at night is really going to help you out. Now, finding reflectors, street lights, those types of things, all of that is going to help you out with driving at night. What to do when there's a lot of extreme bright headlights? People keep putting on their high beams, blue lights, even in the cities. Yes, great question, 172. If you have high beams of oncoming traffic, look down to the outside edge of the road to preserve that night vision. So at night, our pupils dilate so that more light can get in and we can adjust to driving at night. And our eyes will adjust and we will get our night vision, right? However, the night vision can be eroded by oncoming traffic with their high beams on and those types of things. And it's also eroded by the dash lights being really high at night. So you want to turn those down to as low as you can. And to preserve your night vision when there's high beams coming at you, you want to look down to the outer edge of the roadway to preserve your night vision. All of that is going to help you out when you're driving at night and trying to navigate dark roads and whatnot. Carrie, answered that question. Evan, if parked cars make otherwise open intersections closed, keep forward to the other side of the parked car. By the way, before you take off, ensure all doors are locked and adjust your seats. Yes, absolutely. And the other thing on that note of locked doors, Evan, most vehicles in this day and age automatically lock the doors once the vehicle is in drive or attains a speed of 10 miles an hour. It automatically locks all the doors in the vehicle. There's a couple of reasons for this feature on vehicles that it automatically locks the doors once the vehicle is in motion. First, it keeps thieves out. If you're sitting at an intersection, somebody opens the door and grabs whatever's on the seat and runs off. That's the first reason that doors will lock automatically. The second reason that doors will lock automatically is to keep the structural integrity of the vehicle in the event of a rollover. The vehicle is strong so long as the doors are closed, but if the doors fly open when the vehicle is rolling over in a crash, the vehicle becomes weak and vehicle occupants are less likely to survive. So this is the reason that the doors automatically lock when the vehicle goes in motion, is to keep that structural integrity of the vehicle. Michael, sorry, okay, got that. Michael, you can fit these little whistles on your car so that animals can hear you coming. Michael, they don't work. We've had discussions about that before, and the deer whistles don't work at night. So the tip that I put in place for people driving on roads that potentially could have animals is following behind at a distance, half a mile or 1 kilometer, so that the other vehicle is, clearing the road with animals and those types of things, and that they'll run away before you get there. So the other thing we were talking about in the introduction, we're talking about driving at night in the winter, because we're in that time of the year where it gets dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's still dark when you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So many of us are driving at night. Fatigue, wintertime, all those types of things. Corey put up the video earlier about checking out your vehicle, making sure that everything is working properly for the wintertime. A couple of things that you want to do. Make sure that you have good windshield wipers on your vehicle. Make sure that you've changed the cabin filter to optimize airflow through the cabin of the vehicle. Changing the cabin filter will make sure that your defrost is working. As I said, I didn't change the cabin filter on the buggy a couple of years ago and didn't have defrost in the vehicle when it was like super duper cold one night, and then changed the cabin filter and figure out why the defrost wasn't working. The other reason that you may not have heat coming out of the defrost or the heater in the wintertime in your vehicle is due to the fact that your thermostat may not be working. The thermostat is an automatic feature inside the motor that stays closed and shuts the cooling system off from circulating until the engine reaches optimum temperature. Now, most vehicles are 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the motor reaches 170 degrees Fahrenheit, then the thermostat will open up, allow the cooling to circulate, and then it will keep the temperature of the engine at that optimum operating temperature, which is 170 degrees Fahrenheit or wherever is set for your vehicle. In the winter time, if that is broken, because the spring, it's basically a spring that is heat activated, once that spring gets old, it won't work anymore, and the default for being broken on the thermostat is to simply stay open. So if you have a vehicle that's 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes before it actually heats up and produces any heat inside the vehicle, that's probably your first thing to check, is to see whether your thermostat needs to be replaced on your vehicle. And the van that I got my mom in the summertime, the Pontiac Montana, even in the summertime, I was like, this thing is taking a long time to heat up, because in the summertime, a newer vehicle should heat up in like 3 to 5 minutes of driving, okay, on the highway. And it wasn't heating up for like 20 minutes, and I was like, you need the thermostat changed on this. And as soon as the thermostat was changed, it was fine. The other piece about the thermostat is if your engine on your vehicle is not operating at optimum temperature, you're also not fuel efficient, okay? So if you change the thermostat, you're going to be more fuel efficient. Not only that, you're going to get heat out of your vehicle. So if you're driving a bit older vehicle and you're not getting heat out of the defrost or the heater in the wintertime, change the thermostat. That's probably your first diagnosis on your vehicle. Eric, can wearing contacts cause fatigue during night driving more than wearing them during the day? Eric, I don't wear contacts. I suspect that they do, because there's something on your eyes that is probably causing fatigue, and my understanding is that they dry out and those types of things. So, maybe people who wear contacts can give us a bit more information. So if you're watching on the replay or on the live stream now, maybe you can leave a comment down in the comment section there and let us know whether you find that wearing contacts causes fatigue when you're driving at night. Interesting. I did not know that. I liked that the doors lock after I start moving. Yes, Marion, and it's a couple of reasons why. Epic, at night, try to stick to the speed limits on the highway because there will be heavy enforcement. Saw this last night when I was going to Woodbridge, New Jersey from Eaton, Pennsylvania area. Also watch for animals. Yes, watch for animals for sure at night. Okay, excellent. Marion, how do you drive at night when roads are wet and the streets lights are dim? Again, you're going to have to be, Marion, when it's raining at night or the roads are wet and there's a lot of reflection of the ambient light from the road surface off the water. Good windshield wipers, keeping the glass clean on your vehicle. This was the other piece that I wanted to talk about, keeping the glass clean. Defrost, keep some glass cleaner inside your vehicle, because any dirt on the windshield and those types of things is going to cause the light to refract. In other words, it breaks it up and it moves in kind of weird ways in and through and around the vehicle. And it's already going to be difficult enough with clean glass on the vehicle. So you want to try and keep all that clean. This is another reason to optimize and make sure that your vehicle is maintained, changing cabin filters, good windshield wipers, making sure the defrost is working on your vehicle and those types of things. And again, with dim overhead lights, relying on your headlights of your vehicle and those types of things, be looking farther down the road, looking for landmarks, street signs, utility poles, fences, houses along the roadway, any landmark that is going to help you determine where the road is going at night is what you're looking for to keep yourself safe. And again, your number one landmark for determining where the roadway is going at night is going to be other traffic, because for the most part, other traffic is going to drive on the roadway. So you want to be following other traffic. Looking for intersections, look for the cross traffic going through the intersection to identify where those are, whether they're controlled intersections, because if you see the cross traffic coming through and they're just whizzing through the intersection, you know that you have the control, not the other lane of traffic. The other lane does not have the control, okay? Retired, how do you drive at night and it's snowing heavily? Retired, you're going to have to go slower, that's for sure. And hopefully, if it's snowing heavily at night when you're driving, again, looking for your landmarks, looking for your utility poles, following other traffic on the roadway, because hopefully they're going to drive on the roadway at night. Looking for signs, okay, because signs are reflective. They're placed within close proximity to the roadway. Looking for tracks in the snow, looking for concrete barriers, looking for reflectors, looking for the cut through bush and those types of things. So any landmark and mostly other traffic. Driving at night and it's snowing heavily, windshield wipers, defrost on high. Now, depending on what kind of snow it is, you get that wet kind of freezing snow on your windshield that's going to bung up your windshield wipers. Some of us, when the windshield wipers are on, we can simply roll down the window and reach over and grab the windshield wiper and pop it on the windshield, and sometimes that will work. If it gets bunged up with a lot of snow on the windshield, you're going to have to pull over and get the snow and ice off the windshield wipers to keep the windshield clear. But again, defrost on high. I do advocate that you put the defrost on recirculate so that it's not pulling cold air in from outside. It's simply using the hot air that's already heated up inside the vehicle. And if you use that recirculate, that will help to keep the glass clear as well. Roll down one of the windows a slight crack so you have fresh air coming into the vehicle. That too will help. And if you have the option to turn the air conditioning on inside your particular model of vehicle, the air conditioning, believe it or not, will draw the moisture out of the air inside the cabin and help to defrost everything inside the vehicle and keep the glass clean. Snowing heavily at night, the biggest thing is going to be your windshield wipers and having to, because it's going to be melting on the windshield and you're going to have to keep the snow and ice off your windshields. Now, I know there are windshield wipers, and I don't know what people's different experience is with winter windshield wipers. You can get specific windshield wipers for the winter time. I don't know if they're an improvement over other types of windshield wipers and those types of things. Me personally, as I've said, I like the Trico windshield wipers. I had them on the vehicle for over 4 years now, and they're just, they're just now needing to be replaced. So good quality windshield wipers. They cost a little bit more, but they work really well in all kinds of weather. So those are some tips and strategies for driving at night when driving in heavy snow. And of course, low beams on, fog lights on. Don't be using your high beams when it's driving in heavy snow and driving at night and those types of things. And hopefully, as well, in addition to that, you have good quality winter tires on your vehicle as well. That's all going to keep you safe. I once drove snowstorm, no vision at all. Make sure four-way flashers and semi-trucks can see you. Please do not turn on your four-way flashers. Okay, don't do that. Do not do that. We all know that the weather is bad, and it simply distracts other drivers. It's what I said to you before about our eyes are attracted to light and movement. If you are following a car that's got its four ways on and they're just flashing all the time, it's just going to cause more distraction. It's just going to cause more fatigue of the drivers around and behind you. We can see you. We know you're there. You have your lights on. That's all you need. You do not need to turn your four-way flashers on. Please do not do that in bad weather, okay? If somebody told you to do that, it is bad advice, okay? Because it just distracts other drivers on the roadway. Retired, you're most welcome, my friend. Fog lights and low beams, Bosch wipers made for snow. Okay, there is one recommendation. Bosch windshield wipers made for ice and snow. That's another possibility. 172, it's for me, it's different. I'm on I-95, which is wide viaduct versus in a forest with no traffic on it. Okay, yes. And the other piece about it is if you're not comfortable driving at night on the interstate I-95, as 172 is there on the east coast of the United States, I-95 is a big interstate, okay? So my counsel for the best defensive posturing is drive in the second lane in, okay? If it's 3 lanes, don't drive in the extreme right lane, okay? Drive in the middle lane. That's going to be your best defensive posturing. And you're going to have the most amount of space around you, okay? To keep yourself safe when you're driving at night. So do that, okay? Excellent. Thank you for that. Yeah, if you don't please don't turn on your emergency flashers, your four-way flashers when you're driving in bad weather on the roadways. Just turn your lights on, make sure your taillights are on. And this, on that note, you just reminded me, modern vehicles all have an auto setting for the headlights. When you're driving in lowered light conditions, overcast, it's raining, your taillights are not going to activate. So you need to turn your headlights to the on position to make sure that your taillights are on behind. Now, back to what Retired was asking me previously about driving in heavy snow at the night. Make sure that, you know, if you're driving for a long period of time, I would suggest that once an hour, stop and clean all the lights off on your vehicle, your taillights, because you're going to get all that kind of snow dust kicking up and it's going to cover the lights on your car. And years ago, driving back from Vancouver Island, we got in the snow. We were driving on the Trans-Canada Highway. They keep the Trans-Canada Highway well salted, well sanded. All this junk and gunk was coming up on the car and coating the glass and coating the headlights and those types of things. And it was the first time that I drove the highway from Kamloops down to Vernon. And I got onto that roadway, and it is a dark 2-lane roadway at night. And I couldn't see anything. Nothing. I had forgot to clean the headlights when we stopped for fuel in Kamloops. And I forgot to clean the headlights, and the headlights were completely coated over. And fortunately, I couldn't see anything on the roadway. I got in behind a big semi-truck that obviously been up and down that roadway 100 times and knew where they were going. And I just got in behind the semi-truck, and I followed the semi-truck all the way to Vernon, and I was okay. So this is the other piece. If the salt trucks are out, the sand trucks are out, make sure that you have winter windshield washer fluid in your vehicle to keep the glass clean. This is the other thing that's going to help you to get rid of the frost and keep your windshield wipers from bunging up and whatnot with snow and ice, is good winter washer fluid in your vehicle, and making sure that once an hour you stop in a fuel station or stop in a rest area, take your snow brush out, clean all the lights and glass off on the outside again, and that way other vehicles on the roadway are going to be able to see you, and you're going to have the best visibility when driving at night. Eric, if stuck or spun out in snowy weather, can you use flares? Eric, we've stopped using flares because they tend to create fires, especially around vehicles that, you know, have fuel tanks on them and have flammable materials. It's not recommended that you use flares. Most of the emergency survival kits for wintertime will come with those little triangles in them. I would suggest that if you are driving out on highways or driving distances from cities and those types of things at night in the wintertime, that you put a winter survival kit in your vehicle. Corey will put up the video for you on the winter survival kit and the things that should go in it. I would not suggest you use flares, okay? Just because they're flammable and they cause fires and those types of things, it's just probably not the best thing that's going to keep you safe. Epic, I wonder why drivers during a rainstorm still put the four-way flashers on. I ended up doing this back in 2018 when I drove on I-80 by Stan Hope, New Jersey during a rainstorm. Yes, if you please don't do that. I find it really hard on my concentration when I'm already trying to concentrate in bad weather and it's raining heavily or it's snowing or something like that, and you come up behind a vehicle and it's got its four ways on and you end up stuck behind it for a long time, and it just wears me out and just really distracts me. So yeah, if you could avoid doing that, I would be eternally grateful, and all the other road users will be eternally grateful, because we all know that the weather's bad. We're in it too. So just the tip that I will give you is to turn your headlights from the auto setting to the on position to activate your taillights, and that's going to be able to allow other traffic on the roadway, other vehicles and drivers, to be able to see you and locate you. And I will tell you from personal experience, I mean, this morning I was driving up to the dog park and the vehicle was coming towards me. And I mean, we have mandated daylight running lights on all new vehicles in Canada. We've had this for like 2 or 3 decades now. And there was a vehicle without any lights on. Of course, it's overcast here because it's wintertime. And I was like, holy cow, you can barely see that vehicle coming at you. So I'm a huge advocate of turning your lights on in the daytime and every time you're driving. Eric, is it a good idea to have salt in the car if stuck or to try to get free? Eric, either salt or sand, one of those is going to work. A lot of the emergency kits that you're going to buy at the auto shops and other places in the States they're all going to have traction mats in them. So it may not, it may be something that you can do. And I mean, yeah, you can have it. I don't personally, most people, and this is another good tip for winter driving. If you get stuck in the wintertime, you end up in the ditch or those types of things, it's unlikely that somebody is just going to come along with a tractor, or somebody's going to come along with another car and they're going to pull you out of the ditch, or you're going to get out there and dig it out, or you're going to put some mats under the tires and get the vehicle out. We just don't do that anymore, right? We don't live in that world. So this is, again, going back to why you get a membership with the AAA or the CAA here in Canada, because you're going to call it a tow truck, right? And the other piece of advice from an actual tow truck driver that I trained some years ago, if you get stuck and you can't move, don't try and rock it out. Don't try and get it out yourself, because you're just going to dig deeper. Okay, spinning the tires is not going to get you out. You're just going to dig yourself in deeper. So just stop, call the tow truck, get them to come out, get them to pull you out of the ditch and those types of things. So carrying sand, traction mats, salt, those types of things in the vehicle, I'm not sure whether it's going to work out for you. But, to each his own. I mean, maybe you are going to try and dig it out. Maybe you're going to try and rock it out or get somebody with a tow strap or those types of things. It might work out for you. Marion, hey Rick, as a matter of interest, is it wise for new drivers try the Coca-Cola on the winter day, not while it's snowing? Marion, absolutely. Absolutely. Go over the Coke. I mean, it's going to be fine. They spend a lot of money keeping that section of roadway clear and free of snow and ice and those types of things. And, just make sure you have good tires in your vehicle and those types of things, because when you go, it is steep at the top when you're climbing up over there, or you're, coming down and those types of things. You'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Okay, Corey's put up the winter survival kit. Thank you for that, Corey. I was told when my speed was under 60 kilometers an hour, 100 long, I must turn on four-way flashers. Yeah, okay. Just to clarify that, if the rest of the traffic is doing 100 and you're doing 60, then yes, okay? What I'm talking about is most of the traffic on the roadway is going the same speed because the weather is bad. It's raining super hard, or it's snowing, and all the traffic has slowed down because the weather is bad. But what you're talking about is if, say, for example, you're on the Coca-Cola highway and you're going up the hill and the speed limit's 100 kilometers an hour, you're going 60 because your vehicle won't go any faster, then yes, put on your four-way flashers to indicate to other traffic that you're going slower than the traffic flow. But if you're doing the same speed as everybody else, no, don't put on your four-way flashers to tell everybody that it's bad weather, because we know that it's bad weather on the roadways. All right, so some great tips there about night driving. Some tips and strategies. It's like driving on a different planet, driving at night on the roadway. And the reason for that is because we lose half our ability to see at night. So tips and strategies: looking for your landmarks, following other traffic, turning down your dash lights to preserve your night vision, looking down to the outside edge of the road when people are high beaming you, and those types of things. All that is going to keep you safe. Driving at night in the wintertime in snow, windshield washer, good winter windshield washer fluid on your vehicle. If you're driving in heavy snow for a long distance, go in once an hour. Make sure you keep all the lights and glass clean on your vehicle. Windshield wipers, stop and clean all the snow and ice off your vehicle to keep yourself safe. Make sure that you turn your lights from the auto position to the on position so that everybody else can see you. All our American friends, have an awesome Thanksgiving this week and have a great Black Friday, and it's going to be just absolutely awesome. For another video, click here, and all the best. If you have any questions, leave a comment down in the comment section there. Hit that thumbs up button, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.